Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, the left is very calculated, they're very defensive, and they're very good at keeping the act going. But every now and then, the mask slips. The truth comes out raw. But it's never easy, you know? You never just get a leftist actor to come out and actually say the truth. No, you need to have a little bit of a creative approach. You need to make the leftist feel comfortable and catch them off guard, and then just maybe, in a private setting, they might actually tell the truth. In other words, these leftoids only tell the truth when James O'Keefe secretly records them. It's funny how that always works out, right? Yeah, well, it's happened again. This time as David Hogg, of all people, is caught telling the truth about who was really running the White House in an undercover secret James O'Keefe video. David Hogg secretly admits what was once a dangerous right-wing conspiracy. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. But before we get into any of it, this video is actually brought to you guys by a sponsor, so let's play that clip. This video is brought to you guys by Ground News. Well, folks, we're once again in the Trump era, and you know exactly what that means. That means the media establishment is in full-on spin mode. In an information war, your biggest weapon is clarity, and that's where Ground News delivers. Folks, Ground News is the best news aggregator in the business, and they don't just aggregate the news, they got tools that take it to a whole new level, and their flagship tool is their blind spot page. Basically, you want to see the news that the mainstream media doesn't want you to see? Well, on Ground News' blind spot, you could see exactly that. Take this one, for instance. New York Attorney General Letitia James is now being investigated by the FBI for mortgage fraud. It's a huge story. That almost seems like mainstream media blackout on the story. I wonder why that is. Well, Ground News' blind spot shows you that for every single story out there. In times like these, you need to stay informed. You need to understand what's going on, and that's why I cannot recommend Ground News enough. And of course, here's the deal. I'm here to offer you guys an exclusive Liberal Hive Mind Ground News offer by simply clicking the link down below, that's groundnews.com/hivemind, or scanning the QR code on screen. You can get 40% off their Vantage plan. That's 40% off for full spectrum clarity in this rigged media landscape. Go ahead and take advantage of the promotion. A huge thank you to Ground News. Now back to the video. All right, folks, so take a look at this.
The question for me is like, how corrupt is the DNC if so many people knew, or few people knew about Biden, well, the president of the United States?
I mean, I think the fact of the matter is the DNC is always going to be like a campaign arm of the president, ultimately. The bigger issue was like the inner circle that was around Biden. That's it.
And I can't stress to you enough.
Like Joe Biden's chief of staff, like had an enormous amount of power.
Joe Biden?
Joe Biden's chief of staff.
That was like an open secret at the left. Like, I would avoid him. Like, he was scary.
What was his name?
Anthony Trump.
I've never seen him.
Exactly.
What do you mean?
He's like a shadowy, like, Wizard of Oz type figure. That's what made him so, like, I knew how he looked, but I'm like, the general public wouldn't know how this man looked. But he wielded an enormous amount of power, and I can't stress to you how much power he had at the White House.
Okay, so let me get this straight. The White House was essentially being run by Jill Biden's chief of staff, and everybody in Democrat circles knew it the entire time? Yeah, it's almost like literally everything we've been saying is being proven true. Not only that Joe Biden was simply a puppet, but that it felt almost as if Joe Biden's wife was the real president. When we said Jill Biden essentially looked like Joe Biden's handler, they called us crazy, but it seems as though her and her chief of staff were actually the real ones running the show. A real Weekend at Bernie's situation as she propped him up and smiled for the cameras, and then just let the staffers rule the country while pretending everything was fine. Holy freaking crap, what a deception. But this is what happens. This is the result of a political party that is so addicted to power, control, and influence that they'd rather fake an entire presidency than allow democracy to unfold naturally. And it's crazy, you know, the hypocrisy. Because for the last couple of months, these leftists have been going on and on and on. Hashtag no one elected Elon Musk. Yeah, well, let's flip that on them. How about no one elected Jill Biden's chief of staff, Anthony Bernal? A shocking frickin' disgrace. Obviously, Joe Biden was a senile puppet. And the gaslighting currently going on, I mean, what an insult. We got all these characters in the media who are basically throwing their hands up in the air. Oh, well, who could have known? Who could have known that Joe Biden was freaking falling apart from the seams? It's not like we had any indication until he showed up to that debate and everything fell apart. Yeah, well, it's kind of hard for that narrative to pass the smell test when we now have a clip of David Hogg who basically says that, yeah, you know, it was just an open secret that Jill Biden's chief of staff was actually running the show. Absolutely despicable. These characters in the media should be ashamed of themselves, although you need the ability to feel shame, but they enabled this fraud, and they obviously knew. I mean, it was obvious they were running defense. Now all of a sudden they want to protect their brand, right? Jake Tapper wants you to continue showing him the respect that a top CNN anchor deserves, right? What an absolute clown. The guy was obviously complicit. All these people were complicit. They all knew. We were told the videos were fake. They're just cheap fakes. The edits were deceptive, right? Oh, don't fall for the AI cons online. It's just a stutter, they said. Just a stutter. Why are you attacking Joe Biden over his stutter? Meanwhile, the whole time, I guess it was just an open secret, huh? What's the next open secret? That everybody knew that Joe Biden wasn't actually signing on to any of the legislation that was being passed? I mean, let's not forget the auto pen revelation that other people supposedly were using the auto pen to sign executive orders and bills. Do you freaking understand what that means? Unelected, unaccountable staffers might have had the authority of the president at their fingertips to literally enact laws and policies and then pretend as if it was the president who was doing it. It's horrifying, it's un-American, and it should never be allowed to happen again. We were right about everything, and it seems we were right about Jill Biden, that she was using her husband, and I think the best way to describe it was elder abuse. She took this guy and paraded him around. She's continuing to parade him around, clearly because she likes the spotlight. She likes the power. We can't let them rewrite history, folks. We can't let them get away with this orchestrated gaslight campaign, and we also can't let them rewrite history in some of the subtle ways that they're attempting to, as if all of this stuff came recently. Oh, in like 2022, 2023, it seems as though Joe Biden started heading downhill. No, Joe Biden's been heading downhill since 2012. That's the reality. The guy had 2 brain surgeries, and he's never been the same since. The reports go back all the way to the 1980s, and we've seen this slow sort of decay of the president. It didn't happen recently. It wasn't like Joe Biden was perfect and then showed up at the debate with Donald Trump and all of a sudden he had a full-on onset of dementia. No, the guy was in full-blown dementia from the first week of his campaign. And these people lied. They frickin' lied. They didn't miss the story. They didn't do a little whoopsie. It wasn't an accident. It was a purposeful fraud, a purposeful cover-up. And again, it was a totally open secret. The American people deserve better, and David Hogg should be frickin' ashamed of himself. I mean, to so nonchalantly speak the way that he was shows you exactly what kind of political player he is, right? Just another Washington scoundrel climbing up the Democrat ranks. What a surprise that is. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.